ready? Americans produce more carbon from their built environment than almost any other nation on Earth. 15% of these carbon emissions come from transport alone. Now, we all know that a switch over to mass transit would inherently be a great result for mitigating these carbon emissions coming from transportation, but how did we get here? Every major American city by 1920 had a sprawling streetcar network. Yet by the 1950s, they were being bought up and replaced by two new inventions of the 20th century. One, the bus. Two, the highway. Why did we ultimately choose these two over the streetcar? My name is Tyler Michael Harmon, and today I'll be sharing with you the history of the streetcar in America, why it went away due to white supremacy, and what you can do to help levy its reestablishment within America. Starting in 1884 in Cleveland, Ohio, the East Cleveland Street Railway Company operated the nation's first electric streetcar. In the following decades, up to the 1920s, every major American city had a streetcar network. Los Angeles not only had the largest network in the entire nation, it was regarded as the best in the entire world. These streetcars added civic pride, business districts, and business nodes, helped establish neighborhoods. They created seamless economic and urban mobility throughout many newly formed and developing American cities. However, many of these were privately owned, and that privatization would come at the demise of the streetcar. Starting in 1920, GM, Standard Oil, Firestone, and other automotive and oil companies banded together and started buying up these streetcar networks and converting them to buses. So much so that by the 1950s, nearly every single streetcar network had been bought up and converted to bus. So how is this racist? Well, one, America. But two, the policies of the Jim Crow South and segregation led federal and state governments to allow the 1955 Federal Highway Act to bifurcate many American cities where electric streetcars once resided. The act destroyed many BIPOC communities. Many black-owned business districts were torn down in the path of new freeway systems. Think Roger Rabbit. Many urban barrios and ghettos were economically starved and eradicated by highway racial sequestration. Because unfortunately, in America, we see mass transit as being a government handout or an extension of the welfare state. This antiquated outlook, too, is clearly racist and classist and comes from the same racist and classist time period that the bus and the highways do. Streetcar energy consumption is half that of a private automobile's in kilowatt hours on average. And the streetcar provides this ride to multiple peoples at half the energy expenditure of a car. Streetcars also tie urban centers and urban districts together and form an urban unity, and without them, I really don't think our grid systems make sense anymore. Have you ever wondered why so many neighborhoods in Seattle there are those small strips of businesses? Such as 15th up on Capitol Hill, 34th in Madrona, or 45th over in Wallingford? Those commercial strips are actually the remnants of our streetcar networks. As streetcars created fixed points of connection with streetcar stops, these points of connection created permanent fixed financial districts and strips and even entire neighborhoods. Think Georgetown. And streetcars still have this economic power to this day. So what exactly is our federal government doing to help reestablish streetcar networks, or even bolster public transit at all? Hardly anything. The latest spending bill, Build Back Better, only allocates roughly $20 billion nationally for public transit. To put that into perspective, the MTA used just about half that to go 10 blocks on the Upper East Side a couple years ago. Streetcars once tied a young nation together, and I believe can help unify a divided nation today, but what can you, the individual, do, aside from pressuring local, state, and federal authorities to act? Well, one, if you have the physical ability to get rid of your car and start using mass transit solely. Transit authorities pay very close attention to the ridership numbers, so that is the most crucial thing you can do. Two, yet again, if you have the physical ability to, on top of mass transit, solely walk, bike, and use other alternative forms of public transit. Three, share the story of what happened to the streetcar, and share its social and political and economic potential in a nation reckoning with its past. While many Americans are starting to realize that truth comes before reconciliation, what is needed in order to show how reestablishing our nation's streetcars should be a top priority in mitigating carbon emissions is our commitment and our solidarity to the issue. Thank you. Questions? Ha! Haha! Video's not done. Let's have a lovely conversation as to why me specifically, my white skin, having a conversation about what happened due to racism is very inappropriate. Where do I even begin? This project most definitely made me realize that there are many conversations with regards to race and class here in America that are very difficult to have, yes. This class also definitely taught me that how I say it and what I say and to whom means a lot and is very important. So, as a white individual, having a conversation about how public transit went away due to racism, what's inherently wrong about that and why that is centering me and my whiteness in a conversation about racism is because what I am doing is I'm saying, hey, doesn't this really suck that we don't have public transit anymore? And it's because of racism. I'm, in essence, selling a story that really, to be honest with you, does not affect me on a daily basis. Having the conversations about, the reason why I did not edit the highway racial sequestration aspect and talking about urban ghettos and urban barrios out of this was, one, for continuity. I just felt like keeping the script the same for this redo. That way the script that I did turn in is the script that you can follow and listen into on this one. The second reason, however, that I chose to leave that in is because I realized that in order to switch that conversation, what a more appropriate conversation for me and my white skin to be having would be much more about how suburbia in of itself is a white supremacist idea and it's a white supremacist model of planning. However, having a conversation about planning in general and the history of planning and how we got here during the 20th century is very difficult, especially when I'm trying to say, hey, let's use more public transit. I think what I can do in the future when it comes to being able to have these conversations is, one, instead of having a conversation about someone else and someone else's business and about a topic that I don't know what the repercussions are, nor do I know what the repercussions truthfully feel like. And I don't mean from getting rid of streetcars, I mean the racism that got rid of streetcars. I didn't need to have that conversation. 2, moving forward when it comes to public transit, yes. So I have Asperger's and I'm currently in a logical track that it's going to take a moment for me to get out of. But I, as kind of the expert, I suppose, on planning, as in like a role within society, I'm kind of an expert on things such as this. With regard to our built environment, I know a lot of things. I need to continue working on myself, and I need to continue asking the questions like, why am I talking about this topic? I choked up in the middle of class because right as I started to get to the part where I'm saying, well, how is this racist? Well, one, America. Yeah. Thirdly, don't make a joke about racism. That's where it really went off the rails. Is when it went, oh, you're about to make a joke about something you have never personally felt. And that was wrong. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I would like to say? I think this assignment was great because, like, of all the emotional things that I have been through this quarter, to get to the end, to be literally here at this moment, and this is the reason why I'm speaking to you in this YouTube video. If you have listened to this point, good for you, thank you. I just really appreciated the fact that this was the ultimate lesson that came from this class. That the way in which I am communicating does need to change. The way in which I deliver does need to change. The manner in which I speak does need to change. But what mostly needs to change is I need to stop centering myself when it comes to conversations about race within America. I could probably make the argument that I should probably stop centering myself when it comes to discussions about class, but that is a whole other story that my therapist and I don't even know how to really make any headway on. Very confusing socioeconomic status. But yeah. I think to be able to have this massive breakthrough and realize that it felt very performative to stand in front of a room of my peers and try and sell racism as a bad thing in order to help support streetcars, like, that was not my narrative, and that was not my narrative to sell. I wish we had more time to continue doing this, considering that this is literally what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. Back to the autism thing, trains and autistic people. We fucking love trains. I just need to figure out how to do this in a better way, but mainly I need to figure out how to do this in a way that's actually true to me. Hence why I wore the outfit that I chose to wear today. I'm really happy with the way that this course ended, and I'm so thankful that the levee is broken, and I feel like I am finally at a place because of this class where I can actually start to decolonize me. So, thank you. I think I saw you in Madrona one day at a basketball court. Your suburban home's very racist. We can talk about that later, Sean. You should really think about getting rid of it. Thank you.